In 1972, there were 2 magazines being published that could be called Pit Bull Terrier magazines. The late Pete Sparks had been publishing Your Friend and Mine, since he purchased it from H.Q. Kennedy in 1954. By 1972 Pete was getting up in age, and the magazine that had been published as a monthly magazine, with great regularity, was then being published once or twice a year, and a couple of years later disappeared altogether. Don Mayfield had been publishing the Pit Bull Report since 1970. Initially it was a great magazine. It came out on a regular basis, and since Texas was the hot spot for the dogs, Don was ideally situated to put out a good magazine. Pit Dog Report was initially published every other month, but after a year or so of publishing, the magazine was consistently late, until the issues were, in some cases, 6 months late, and the issues were being combined into 2 and sometimes 3 magazines a year. Pit Bull Report changed hands twice until it too finally disappeared in about 1977. In the northeastern part of the country, in 1972, there were a group of dedicated dog men that lamented the gradual diminishing of both magazines and started to consider publishing their own newsletter, just for the fanciers in the Northeast, which included New York, New Jersey, New England, Pennsylvania and Canada. At that time I was the owner of a plumbing company in New York City, and employed several women to run the office. The office had all of the business machines that were necessary to run an office, and I was elected to put out the newsletter. It wasn't a very difficult task, and with the help of our office staff we began to publish a small, about 18 pages, newsletter for the purpose of keeping all of the northeastern fanciers in touch with each other. The first sporting dog journals were cranked out on a hand-operated mimeograph machine on mimeograph paper and collated, by hand, by my office personnel. We made no attempt to publish an artistically great-looking publication. The very first issue was mailed to 54 subscribers and cost $3 for a year's subscription, and you could get a full-page ad for $5. A couple of issues went by and some fanciers from Ohio and Michigan heard about the newsletter and wanted to subscribe. We were glad to have them. About this time John Shiver, who was a good friend and semi-partner with me, who lived in Florida, and several of his friends from down that way also wanted to subscribe, and by the 3rd issue we were mailing out over 200 copies of the journal. Along about this time Maurice Carver called me and asked if he could subscribe and advertise on the back cover on a yearly basis. From that point on the newsletter started to look more and more like a magazine. Now after nearly 30 years and 171 issues, we are stepping down to let younger people carry on with the journal. I'm sure with their new ideas and all the advances in technology, the Sporting Dog Journal will become better than ever.